Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44, and I would like to come to you today and say I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned. There are rumors going around and reports coming out that Anthony Davis is considering going back to Chicago, play for the Chicago Bulls at the end of this season. Those reports coming from what I understand, Jay Williams, a few other people are throwing that out there saying, yo, if the Lakers don't win the championship, there's a good chance, depending on how these playoffs go, that he considers going back home. First of all, I was born on a Saturday, not this past Saturday. There's no way in hell I'm believing that. There's a million reasons why I think that is not the case, and I'll break down a few of them for you. One, the Lakers are really good. Now, granted, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's on the team, and any team that he goes to is going to be really, really, really improved, obviously. But he's been on the team by himself more or less for 7 years, 8 years almost. Didn't work out for him. He's been on a bad organization for 8 years now. He was frustrated. He hated the situation he was in. He forced his way out of it to come here. He could have forced his way to Chicago. They had cap space. He forced his way here. The Lakers moved hell, heaven, earth, cut off several limbs, everything they could to bring him here. Even at the expense of giving away players and picks that have since turned into all-stars and valuable pieces. We don't care. We gave it all up just for his one-year contract because that's what he means to us. That would resonate with me if I'm Anthony Davis. Put it like that. They did what they had to do. They chose me. They could have chosen several other superstars to try to go after. He was the one we wanted. That should resonate some. Some may think that he's taking a backseat to LeBron James and he's not enjoying it. I haven't seen enough that would make me think that holds any credibility, but that's always something that's in the back of your mind when you're dealing with these type of superstars playing with one another. Chances are, egos are going to play some part in the situation. And there is no star brighter in the league, maybe even in sports, than that of LeBron James. So no matter who plays with him, you're going to be his sidekick. It literally does not matter who you are. So with that being said, okay, for those who say he may not be happy in the situation, maybe he's not being able to stretch his wings, that just brings me back to the point where he's been able to stretch his wings for 7 years and hated it. Hated every second of it. He had his own franchise, and he left them when they got one of the most coveted players in draft history, in Zion Williamson. If Zion Williamson couldn't keep him in a situation where he was able to spread his wings and have his own organization, then I don't see him having so much of a problem playing behind LeBron James, not being able to spread his wings, so to speak. I don't see that being a situation where he's sitting here saying, I hate this, I want to get back to where I was. Conventional wisdom tells me otherwise. Then we get down to the nitty-gritty of who's on what team. What do the Bulls look like if he goes there? Well, they have Lauri Markkanen. They have bigs, young bigs at that. And I think from that standpoint, somebody would have to be moved. I think you do a sign and trade if the Lakers do in fact lose Anthony Davis. I think it would be a great job for all of us to try to bring back Markkanen, bring back the other young big that they got. What's his name? Carter, I believe it is. I think his name is Carter. Maybe bring back some other pieces, Chris Dunn, Hutchinson. Just bring back all their bigs, basically. I would want all of their bigs for Anthony Davis and all of their picks going forward. But the reality is, now that I think about it, we would not be granted a sign and trade at all because he's an unrestricted free agent. So if we were to do a salary swap, it would make no sense to do so because we would not officially own that salary if he decided to walk away. So he literally bolts for nothing. So renege everything I just said. That would not happen. I don't know of his character well enough to know if he'd leave us high and dry, but I know he left New Orleans high and dry, so I wouldn't put it past him. However, I don't see the incentive to do so. This Lakers team that he's been on, it's like being on an NBA team for 3 seasons, the type of season that they've had, with the loss of Kobe Bryant, making an all-star team, obviously, playing with LeBron James through the COVID crisis, the Clippers snubbing us basically by pulling Kawhi Leonard from under our clutches and ultimately doing something extremely devious. All of that should make him feel like a Laker. He's only been here for 10 months, but it feels like 3 years. Because he's been through 3 years worth of stuff. We had guys that have been on the Lakers team probably for 3-4 years that didn't experience what Anthony Davis experienced as a Laker this year. So that should give him a sense of belonging, a part of this. Then I look at the stances that Jeanie Buss is taking. I don't know Anthony Davis's position, but I'd imagine since he's so close to LeBron James, if he's going to be that close to LeBron James, he probably is aligned to a degree with LeBron James' ideals, things that matter. Anthony Davis happens to be black. He happens to come from Chirac. So how all that plays into how he views the position that the Lakers are taking, which is a very unique one, in a sense that they are more or less spearheading the promotion of Black Lives Matter in a way that other organizations in the league have not. Jeanie has taken a very especially personal position in regards to these social matters. I think LeBron James is pleased, and that leads me to believe that Anthony Davis probably would feel similarly. That's about as far as I can go with that without really having any information, but it just leads to, the tea leaves say this would be something that an athlete who happens to be African American would really appreciate, to see their ownership take this particular stance, especially knowing that some others have chosen to not, or even so in other sports have chosen the opposite direction to go. So I think that would make me feel pretty good about ownership. Do you trust the Lakers' flexibility going forward? That's the problem. If he bolts, and I don't believe that he will, but if he bolts, I believe he leaves because he thinks that the Lakers are not going to be able to put together a title contender after LeBron leaves. But there's a solution to that. You just sign a 1-1 with the Lakers. It's easily movable if you're not happy halfway through the season next year. If something happens where we're not a title contender and you want the hell out of here, it's movable. And it leaves you at a free agent if things go south quickly with LeBron or what have you. It leaves you a quick out. I think that makes more sense than signing with Chicago or anyone else for that matter. That's just my plan. If I'm Anthony Davis, maybe I'll lock up for several years, for a 4 years, 5-year deal. But I think it's more likely I keep my flexibility and sign maybe a 2-1 or a 1-1 and try this again in a couple seasons. So yeah, looking at the flexibility of the Bulls have a lot of flexibility, probably more picks than us. They have the cap space, which is why he can go there. But they don't have a point guard. Not to say that they couldn't get Alonzo Ball or somebody like that, but when you're leaving LeBron James, the best setup man in the world, the best passer in the world right now, and you go to a place where, they just fired the coach, they're replacing with somebody that I don't even know who is there right now. You still have Garpax in the front office. They have a reputation that's not so great, and a history of making some pretty not so special roster decisions. Again, their best players are all bigs, so there's a redundancy aspect to what Anthony brings to the table, because he's going to take up a lot of the cap space, but then their best players are playing his position. So they're not on the floor at the same time he is. So you got weakness on the floor in your guards, so to speak, even though they have some guards that you should be excited about. Chris Dunn can, in my opinion, somewhat like Marcus Smart. He reminds me of Marcus in a lot of ways. I think he's going to continue to get better if he can stay healthy. They have Kobe White, who I think is a stud, shown us many times flashes of brilliance. He's going to be an elite scoring guard in this league, something like a Kemba Walker, in my opinion, as he develops. Something like that. Ty Lawson, something like that. I see him as one of those type of guys. So he's going to be really good, but not right away. Not for a guy who's entering his prime. You got to wait on those kids. And ultimately, you got to trust that you're going to be able to beat a Brooklyn team that's win now, a Laker team or a Clipper team that's over here, Milwaukee, and whatever happens with Giannis. If he goes to Miami, if that happens to take place, you're dealing with that. The Eastern Conference is not as weak of a conference as we've known it to be. Boston's still around. Toronto's probably still going to be around. I expect those teams to improve. The Orlando's and all those teams, they're going to get better. So with that being said, you're coming to an Eastern Conference, going to a team that's not very good, and then you're going to be dealing with teams that are getting a lot better at the same time. Going to the Eastern Conference doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, leaving the Lakers. If you're Anthony Davis, I hear that if he were to go home, if he were to go to Chicago, it would be because of social justice reasons. I think that's absolutely redundant. I think it makes no sense because, A, we don't know where the NBA is going to be played next year. For all I know, it's going to be another couple of bubbles. So whatever your home-based team is, it's no guarantee you're even going to be there at all. So him going to Chicago should be more about basketball and finances than it should be about locale, because you're not going to be there in theory. Probably going to have a couple bubbles all over the country that people are going to have to stay in from 3 months, 2 months at a time, and they're going to probably rotate teams that way. I think that makes more sense than trying to open up stadiums where nobody's coming, because it's just not safe to. So him leaving teams, moving to back home to Chicago, when he may not even be in Chicago, he may still be in Orlando. I don't know if that's the best move for him. Maybe he sees it as that. I don't. There's not a whole lot of positivity coming out of Chicago. I mean, they've been a bad team for so long. Not to say that we haven't, but at least we had LeBron James in place. LeBron obviously is still very much an elite basketball player. Still probably has about 3-4 more years at this level. I think a solid 3, to be honest. I don't know what he wants to do after that, but I'm pretty certain he's going to continue to be like this another 3 years. So, with that being said, where are you going? Chicago? You're going to a bad team because you want to go home? But you didn't want to go home when you were stuck in New Orleans? That don't add up. None of that adds up. And not only that, but for social justice reasons, you will have a much, much greater voice and much more ownership support in regards to that voice in LA because of everything I've already described. Plus LeBron James. You're standing next to LeBron James. Is there a more powerful person in sports right now? I mean, seriously. Whatever you think you're going to accomplish in Chicago, you're going to be able to accomplish 10 times more if that guy is the guy to your left. So that part doesn't add up necessarily as well. And if he's trying to, now this can be nuanced, so I know that this is not necessarily a hot take at all. But if he's trying to help his people in Chicago, that's $100 millionaire. The best thing he should probably do for them is get them the hell out of there. Not go to them, get them out. I know Chicago has its good parts, I know that, but the culture down there right now, it's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, it's not safe for African American people. It's not safe. I'm not gonna even pretend. It's like the Wild Wild West, it's like LA in the 80s. It is a very, very dangerous place if you're an African American person right now. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or maybes about that. And I don't think that somebody who grew up in Chicago is rushing back to get there. Not if you made it out. Not to the level that Anthony did. You're not rushing to live there. You're not rushing to none of that. You're trying to rush back there. Now, DWade did. But how did that work out for him? He hated every second of it. As a bad organization run by people who are not necessarily fit to continue to run the team. Let's just be honest. A lot of people are tired of guard packs. I think they got rid of one of them, kept the other one. I don't know. But either way, they're going to have to prove that they can have an infrastructure that people trust before they invest their futures in them. I don't think it makes any sense for Anthony to do that at all. Not only that, but there are better organizations in the same vicinity. You understand what I'm saying? If he wants to force his way somewhere to play very well in that vicinity, go to the Pacers, go to Minnesota. Like, there are teams that are better. Let's just be honest. There are teams that look better than Chicago in that area. Go to Milwaukee. My God. Go to Milwaukee. Go play with Giannis if you're going to go to that area. If you want to live in Chicago and you want to play meaningful basketball, don't go to the Bulls. Go to Milwaukee. It's like an hour away. So, for me, all of that screams of this story holds little weight. Very, very little. And the only way I see him bolting for Chicago is if he's being called by something bigger than basketball, as some people are reporting. But whatever that thing is, I would hope that there are people close to him that would talk him out of doing it that way, because that is not the best way to handle his career as a basketball player. It's not, in my opinion. It's just one step away from basically retiring, is the way I look at it. You go into a team that is not projected to do anything, that's probably going to need to do a lot more than just bring you in to help you contend. I believe that your team is going to be worse than New Orleans was. I believe if you were going to do this, you probably should have just stayed in New Orleans. Does it make any sense? To me, and I'll say this. If there's another scenario where I see he leaves the Lakers and goes to Chicago, it would be because we got swept in dramatic fashion by the Houston Rockets, and everything went south between him and LeBron James. It would have to be nothing short of a fist fight, to be honest with you. Somebody would have to say something about somebody tacos or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would have to be really, really personal for them to say this team ain't big enough for the both of us. And to be completely honest with you, we have zero evidence of anything of that nature even being between them. I ain't seen so much as a side eye. Them guys laugh and joke and have a lot of fun. And I think they appreciate one another outside of basketball. So whatever Anthony wants to do, I feel like LeBron would support it. But I don't think Anthony would leave LeBron high and dry near the tail end of his career. Because Anthony is his best chance at salvaging his career. And if he didn't want to help LeBron win a championship and be a part of his legacy, then it was no point in coming here in the first place. You certainly shouldn't bolt at the first chance of any adversity or the first chance of losing a championship, especially since he's only in his 20s right now. LeBron is going to keep going regardless. So at that, even when it comes to us losing a series in dramatic fashion, even that to a degree doesn't really hold as much weight with me, because I'm like, well, you don't have any pride to want to come back at him? I mean, who wants to be seen as another Kevin Durant in that regard? Are you going to bounce and go somewhere else because you couldn't beat somebody? No, you come back at him. So I just don't see Anthony Davis taking that path, seeing how it played out for others, even when it was successful. It just didn't work. And last but not least, the Clippers are coming back next year. They are. Regardless of what happens, whether they win the championship or lose the championship, I can guarantee you, we're going to deal with Trez, Lou Will, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard next year on the Clippers. They will be there, all four of them. I have no doubt about it. I see no reason for the Clippers to break that team up. And if they're coming back next year, I can't see Anthony Davis saying, nah, especially if we lose to them. Nah, let me go to Chicago. I got some other business. No, he's going to want to get right back at it. He's going to want to run that back next year. The Lakers-Clippers rivalry is an incentive to stay a part of this organization if you're Anthony Davis, in my opinion. That makes it even more intriguing. Having a legitimate in-city rival, for which none of our previous Laker greats have ever had. He does have that opportunity to battle with the Clippers and keep this city as a Laker city because of him going forward. I think that that's a great notch in his legacy. if he's able to establish one here. I think it's the move. I think it's a great decision for him. So, yeah, I give this about a 2% chance of happening. 2%. Strange things have taken place, but this would be one of the stranger ones for me. And I was the guy that said I didn't want to make the trade for Anthony Davis because I was fearful of this. But seeing as how the season played out, for which I could never have foreseen a season like this, I don't think he has any reason to want to be a part of anything other than the Lakers right now. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching all of that, because I know it was long. My name is BDF44, and I'm out.